When my parents told me I wasn't invited to my brother Ethan's anniversary celebration, they tried to sound apologetic. "It isn't personal," my mother said over the phone. "Your brother's clients and business partners will be there. You're a government employee, it just doesn't fit the image." I waited for someone to laugh and admit it was a terrible joke. No one did. My father added, almost gently, "You understand, Ethan is a CEO now." I looked around my small apartment. My life wasn't glamorous. I drove an aging sedan, lived within my salary, and spent most evenings reviewing legal files instead of attending networking events. "I understand," I replied. That was the end of the conversations. For days, I replayed those words in my head. Not because I wanted the invitation, but because I realized my family had quietly decided that a person's value could be measured by the title on a business card. I stopped calling. They didn't notice. 3 months later, Ethan's face was on every news channel. His company had become the center of a fraud investigation involving nearly $500 million in investor losses. Every headline used stronger language than the last. Reporters camped outside his office. Analysts debated whether the company had hidden financial records for years. My parents insisted it was all a misunderstanding. "Someone's setting him up," my mother told relatives. I said nothing. Judges don't comment on pending cases. Very few people outside my professional circle knew that several years earlier, after passing every examination and spending countless late nights studying, I had been appointed to the bench. My work required distance from publicity. That privacy suited me. The case moved through the court system exactly as procedure required. I assumed another judge would receive it. Instead, administrative scheduling placed the preliminary hearing in my courtroom. I immediately reviewed every ethical requirement. Personal relationships demanded careful scrutiny. If a legal conflict existed, I would step aside without hesitation. After consultation and formal review, it was determined that the hearing before me involved procedural matters that could be handled impartially under the applicable rules. Every safeguard remained in place. The morning of the hearing, the courthouse buzzed with reporters. I entered through the staff corridor as I always did. Inside the courtroom, attorneys organized thick binders while spectators whispered among themselves. My parents sat behind the defense table. They hadn't seen me, the bailiff stood. "All rise for Judge David Wright." The room became silent. I walked onto the bench. For the first time, my brother looked directly at me. The color drained from his face. It wasn't fear of me. It was the sudden realization that the profession my family had considered embarrassing represented something they had completely misunderstood. Authority in that courtroom did not belong to wealth, influence, or reputation. It belonged to the law. I took my seat. "Good morning. Please be seated." My voice sounded exactly as it did every day, measured, neutral, professional. No one in the courtroom needed to know what had happened 3 months earlier. It had no place there. The hearing began. Attorneys argued procedural motions. Evidence schedules were discussed. Deadlines were established. Every ruling followed established legal standards. I did not look at my parents unless necessary. I did not look at Ethan longer than required. The record mattered, nothing else. When the hearing concluded, I thanked counsel and adjourned the session. The gavel struck once. Outside the courtroom, reporters surrounded both legal teams. I left through the judicial corridor. That afternoon, my phone rang several times. I let every call go to voicemail. Later that evening, I listened. My mother's message contained long pauses. We never understood what your work really meant." My father spoke next. "I should never have said your job embarrassed anyone." Neither message asked for forgiveness. Neither offered excuses. For the first time in years, they simply acknowledged what had happened. I didn't call back immediately. Some conversations deserve time before they deserve words. Weeks later, after the case had been reassigned for later proceedings, I agreed to meet my parents for coffee. There were no dramatic apologies, no emotional speeches, just uncomfortable honesty. My father admitted he had confused visibility with importance. My mother admitted she had spent years chasing appearances because she feared other people's opinions. Neither confession erased the past. Some damage doesn't disappear because someone finally recognizes it. As we finished our coffee, my father quietly said, "We were proud of success. We forgot to be proud of integrity." I nodded that was enough. I couldn't change the years we'd lost, neither could they. But I no longer needed their approval to understand the value of the life I had built. Long before anyone stood and announced my name in a courtroom, my work had already given me something my brother's title never could: a reason to respect the person I saw in the mirror.